next question will be, according to the laws of Britain, what are the rights of a Briton?
Right. It's this is an interesting question which has come up over the years. Unlike other countries where citizens of those countries are codified in the constitution, and also up to the time when the UK left the EU in 2018, when we had the agreement to leave and when Brexit now became kind of in effect. As a British citizen, you did have rights as an EU citizen as well, because we were then in the EU. You had the rights, freedom of movement, freedom for services, of goods, and capital. Now, when you transpose those rights now that the UK is no longer in the EU, what rights now do UK citizens have? Well, ordinarily, you can say, well, they have the right to vote if you're not one of the excluded class, like a prisoner. You have the right to serve on the jury. You have the right to travel. You have freedom of movement. You have the right to marry. You have the rights, of course, that are enshrined in the European Convention of Human Rights, which is directly incorporated into UK legislation through the Human Rights Act of 1998. So when you look at those whole plethora of laws which govern what are the rights of a British citizen, it's not exactly codified anywhere. And the question is, how, other than using those rights to define it, how would you be able to define what a British citizen is? Some might say, well, it's through the acquisition of a passport. Not necessarily, because you can be a British citizen and don't have a passport. So, but you have a right to have a passport, but it's a right. It's not a privilege. It's not a privilege, but the government might say it's a privilege because there's some people who might be denied the passport because they fall under certain category. Maybe they're danger to the state or they're a threat to national security, so they might not be issued with a passport. But that doesn't deprive them of being British citizens. And interestingly, going on passport, some people, particularly with the war on terror, which has happened since 9/11, we've had certain situations where a number of British citizens who have been involved in terrorist activities have been stripped of their citizenship rights. So basically, they've been denied a passport. Some even have a passport, but they didn't even know. And that's an executive decision. Some have successfully challenged those decisions in court, but as it is, the government through the executive can, without even giving notice, strip someone of their citizenship. So as much as citizenship is a right, there's an argument on the other side where some might say, well, it seems to be a privilege because the government can, without notice, strip you of your citizenship if they deem you to be in an undesirable category, either to be danger to national security, public law, and all that. The usual exemptions which apply if you want to strip someone of their citizenship. So in a nutshell, those are the rights you have as a British citizen. So mainly looking generally in some what's the rights of a citizen under fundamental rights as an individual. Those are the rights. So there's no special rights as such. The only difference is, of course, if you are in the UK and you're not a citizen, you might have some of those rights, but you will not have some of the further rights, like, for instance, maybe a right to have a British passport and to be able to travel and enter the United Kingdom without hindrance if you're a citizen. So those are in a nutshell, those are the rights.
Okay, thank you.